Did Taylor Swift really get out of Justin Baldoni's deposition in his legal battle with Blake Lively? Is that true, or could she still get pulled into it? We have Eileen Davidson from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, who is slamming the MAGA crew. And we have yet another Emmys award show. Lots to talk about. And yes, I did watch Unknown Number. We will get into that as well. Get ready for it. Let's dive in. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's up, everybody? Welcome on in, everybody in the club. Hi, guys. Happy Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you had some fun, whether it was, watching the Emmys with friends or with family. Personally, I did not do anything Emmys related. I had a very lovely Sunday, though. I got to support some of my friends. I got to spend the earlier half of the day with my friends, celebrating my friend's birthday. And then in the evening, I went to go and celebrate with my family for my grandfather's birthday. So it was nice. I had a nice day. And I was just like, yeah, I would rather have a family night versus like an Emmys after party night. Like, not to say that there's anything wrong with those parties aren't fun, but I'm just like, I just, I don't, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Miss Squishy says it's sad that you supported Ellsrich's video. I had to unfollow her. Well, let me make that very clear. Just because I commented on her video and I said, I love you, Elsie, does not mean that I necessarily agreed with the sentiment of her video. I didn't watch the video all the way through. But here's the thing. We can still love our friends and not necessarily agree with everything that they have to say. Like, that's okay, right? Even if we don't see eye to eye, even if, ideologically, politically, philosophically, or even if it's down to a dispute of, which Real Housewife you like better, it's okay. It's totally fine. We can still show up and love the people that are in our lives. I am not about cutting people out. I've always been very clear. I know people think that maybe that's like a toxic trait that I have, that I refuse to cut people out. Obviously, if somebody's like, really damaging to your mental, physical, emotional health, then those are things to reconsider. And sometimes there are healthy boundaries that you need to put in place. And sometimes there are people you need to cut out of your life. However, I don't agree with cutting out friends or family solely based off of different perspectives or viewpoints, right? I think, like I've always said, people are equal parts good and bad. It's just who they choose to show up as. And I'm not going to cut anybody out of my life, or specifically in relation to the Charlie Kirk stuff that I know we discussed last week. I know that there are a lot of people that are experiencing like this purge of Instagram followers, and people are unfollowing them in floods. And I understand that. I am very blessed to say that did not happen to me on Instagram. If anything, it was the opposite. Rather than losing hundreds and hundreds of followers, I gained thousands and thousands of followers. And I think it's because it's all about how you approach things, right? If you're trying to not be divisive and you're welcoming everyone, like, I don't want my liberal or super Democrat friends to unfollow me, right? Like, there are still many things that I agree with them on. I don't want them to unfollow me. I don't want them out of my life. I think it's important that we can have a, variety of opinions, that we can say, okay, we may not agree on all of it, but that's okay. You can feel your way and I can feel my way. I understand that this situation is in particular more heightened because of the celebration of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which has also been really hard for me to stomach. And I also want to make it clear that in the videos that I posted over the weekend, which have gotten lots of traction, and I'm glad that they've resonated with a lot of people, I'm very grateful that that message was able to resonate with many. But even in that message, I didn't tell people to leave or unfollow me. If anything, I want them to continue to follow me. I want them to stay around. I want us to be able to still be cohesive together, because the more we talk to each other, the more we have these conversations, the more we start to understand each other a little more and realize we're not bad people. We just have different backgrounds, different conditionings, different viewpoints, different ideas for how we think society should function. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I know people don't agree with me on that. And I know people think that it's a bad thing that I'm not for shunning or discarding or ostracizing. But you also have to remember, I just came off of a very deep grieving, period. And not that I'm not still grieving, and it still comes in waves and whatnot, but I do feel a little stronger every day. But I will just say, in going through that experience and being at a very low point and being very heartbroken and shattered and in deep, heavy grief and knowing the dark places that my mind went to in that week, um, I was ostracized by people that I loved. I was cut out, or I was just not reached out to, or I had friends that, I thought our political differences didn't matter when it came to mourning somebody that we both loved, right? A friend that was dear to us. I'm talking about Jeff, not Charlie Kirk. And it was jarring to me to see some of those same people couldn't even pick up a phone call or call me back, respond to a text message, say hello to me at his celebration of life. That to me was very shocking, because I think right now we need less of that and we need more people coming together. So yes, there have been people that have hurt me. Yes, there have been people I don't agree with. Yes, there have been, a number of those things. I like to consider myself to be a forgiving person. I try to give a lot of grace. I do like to set boundaries, but I also think that grace is needed. And I am the person that's going to give you probably more chances than you deserve. And I probably will get hurt as a result of that. But I am choosing to believe in the good left in people, because I think the more we foster that and the more we believe and buy into that, the more we get out of this like very arrogant, narcissistic, my worldview is the only view that matters type of energy that I don't think is productive. I don't think is helpful, and I don't think is the way to continue to go. I think that's the way that brought us to this point. Let me go to therapy every day and let me consider every inconvenience and uncomfortable reality to be considered a trauma. Let me blame my parents for everything that goes on in my life for the rest of my life, because I can't take accountability for anything in my own life. Let me blame my partner every time I go through a breakup in a relationship, because they're a narcissist and they're toxic and I'm not. I'm perfect. I think that's such bullshit. I think that that's such a warped sense of reality to perceive the world. Like, we have to also own our toxic parts. We have to also own that we can be bad people sometimes, and we shouldn't be judged by the moments where we're at our worst. That's when we should be loved the most and given grace, and hopefully will give us an opportunity to become better people. There are absolutely bad people in this world. I agree with that. And I think, evil does exist on this planet, but I, again, just would rather choose to believe in the good left in humanity. Obviously, that's a very generalized statement. I'm not saying like go and, you know, give all your clothes away and give all your money and become Gandhi and become a monk and fall for every scam from a dude in Nigeria that needs $1 million. I'm not condoning any of that. Obviously, take that all with a grain of salt, but I just choose to show up, try to. Choosing is challenging sometimes. Trying and putting in that effort is absolutely what I strive for every day. But again, I ain't perfect. So, you know, you know what I'm saying? So in response to the Elsie thing, of course I'm going to comment and say, and I intentionally did that. You know how many times I've had friends that have intentionally left comments to make it clear that they don't stand with me, so that the Instagram world or whatever comment they're, whatever platform, they make it clear that that's a line drawn in the sand, so that everybody looking at that post will know that they don't stand with me. And that fucking hurts, because they won't sit down and have a single conversation with me about it, but they want to make sure that Instagram sees they don't stand with me on that particular issue without even understanding why I feel a certain way about a certain issue. So that was a very deliberate and intentional comment that I left on Elsie's post, because I do love Elsie, even if I agree with her or don't agree with her. And we haven't discussed it, so I don't know where she stands on it, But I know at the end of the day, Elsie is my friend and I love her. Period. End of story. That's all. So, it is what it is. That said, let's talk about, okay, so we'll get into the Taylor Swift, we'll get into the Eileen Davidson, we'll get into the Hannah Einbinder from her Emmy speech. So just to let you know, the conversation may get a little more fiery and spicy as the episode goes on. But let's start with some of the lighter stuff, and then if you need to dip out later, I understand. I watched, well, I don't even know if I can say this is lighter stuff. Unknown Number, the documentary on Netflix. I told you guys that spoilers were coming. I gave you homework to watch it over the weekend. So if this gets spoiled for you, this is your bad. Okay. Because I warned you. I watched it, and OMG. Oh, I did a whole, like, reaction, Instagram reel, and I think yeah, I put it on TikTok too. So you can see my, like, reaction as I'm watching it and like, "Oh my god," and reading the text messages, and it's crazy. So to preface for, anyone that doesn't wanna watch it or is fine with spoilers, it's about these high school kids, and they start getting these anonymous harassing messages. There's this one girl and this guy, and they're the two that are kind of at the core of this. This one girl keeps getting these like really nasty, threatening messages, calling her all sorts of derogatory names, encouraging her to self-harm, like all of these things, like really, really bad things. And it's basically coming from this anonymous number that wants this girl to break up with her boyfriend. And the messages are basically saying, "I like him better. I'm better for him." All of this stuff. He's not going to stay with you because you don't want to put out all these things, right? And so, just like really evil messages that this girl is receiving. And so, the documentary explores who could be sending them. Is it this person? Is it that person? Is it Chloe? And poor Chloe. Well, Chloe, I do believe that Chloe used to throw carrots at the girls. I don't think Chloe was all that kosher. But so anyway, it keeps presenting, and it's only like an hour and a half, right? It's under 2 hours. It's relatively short, and it keeps presenting different theories and ideas of who could potentially be behind these messages. And you see the parents talking, and there's one mom, Jill, who's the mom of the boy, and then there's Kendra, who's the mom of the girl, that are receiving these messages, and they're trying to figure out who's sending them. Is it this cousin? Is it this random classmate? Is it, who could potentially be doing this? And the school gets involved, local authorities get involved, the FBI gets involved, and they're trying to figure out who is stalking these kids, who is doing this, who's threatening them, who's and like encouraging like really damaging things on this poor girl, specifically in relation to her boyfriend. And they eventually break up because the boyfriend's like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this anymore." And then the boyfriend starts to go off and date somebody else. And then that girl starts getting harassed and her family starts getting like, it's crazy, 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 crazy. Um, that said, we finally get to the big reveal of who is it. And I said from the beginning, I was like, could this be Jill? Jill is the boy's mom. And I was like, I think it's Jill. I think it has to be one of the parents. I don't think one of the kids is doing that. One of the kids doesn't have the money or the sophistication because like you have to have like burner phones and like burner apps with fake numbers and like all of this stuff. Right. Because I mean, I would imagine like if it's a regular phone number, you can just like look up, okay, who's that number registered to? But I think she was using like an app to conceal her number, or she bought another number somewhere or something, right? She was doing something that was like masking that it was coming from her or her phone. Long story short, it ends up being dun dun dun, dun drum roll, please. The girl's mom, Kendra. Kendra, who is the mother of the girl that is receiving all of these harassing, terrible messages. Her mom ended up being the one that sent it to her. And so they were like, oh, this is like digital Munchausen. Like the mom wanted the girl to be so fragile, and then the mom would come in and be like, "Oh, don't worry, sweetie. I got you. I'm gonna boost you up. I'm gonna make you feel better. I got you. I got you. I got you. Mama's got you." And it's so sick and twisted. Even the husband, the dad didn't even know that the mom was doing this. And they were all like doing the investigation and like trying to figure it out and trying to track down the numbers and looking at the IP addresses. And finally it was on some dude in the on the FBI. He's the one that ultimately found the IP addresses and then was able to link Kendra's phone number to each of these different IP addresses. And ultimately, they found out that the mom was the one that was doing this to her own daughter. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Like, because you think about it, like, it has to be somebody that has a lot of time. These kids are in school. It has to be somebody that has money to be buying fake numbers or fake phones or whatever. And it has to be somebody that is like sophisticated enough to pull something like this off to where like you have, because then it comes out that she had like multiple phones. And then it comes out that she wasn't even working. She didn't have a job. Like she claimed to have had a job. It's crazy. And she was just spending like all of her days just on the computer, texting this boy and texting her daughter and texting the girlfriend of the boy, the new girlfriend. And it was just so wackadoodle crazy, 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 crazy. I highly suggest you watch my Instagram reel or my TikTok because I am watching a real, you see my reaction. I'm eating my Khloe Kardashian popcorn. I'm like, oh my God, Kendra. Oh, they showed up to her house. She doesn't even know that they're onto her. Bad girls. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad girls. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? And then it's just crazy that like Kendra even sits to be interviewed in this documentary. And then you see the daughter, and the daughter's like, I still love my mom. I still need my mom. I still talk to her from prison, because the mom, they find out it was her. They lock her up. Don't let her out. Lock her up. Put her behind bars. So she's been in prison, but she's still communicating with the daughter. The daughter still like has a good relationship with her mom. It's so twisted. And the girl in the interviews is like, yeah, I need my mom. A girl needs her mom. And it's like, and it really is like Munchausen, right? Like she convinced her that she was in this like terrible situation so that she can become fully dependent on her. It's sick. And I'm just like, where is Gypsy Rose when you need her? Like somebody get Gypsy Rose on the line. Like what the heck? And then the mom does the interview for Netflix. And not only does the mom do the interview for Netflix with no shame, and she's like, I get it. I'm a headline. I'm a villain, but we're all flawed. I was like, okay, Hannah Montana, everybody has those days. Everybody makes mistakes. No, everybody does not harass their daughter and encourage them to herself. No, crazy, you wackadoodle lady. But it's funny because they make Kendra do like all these reenactments of like her looking at the storm and the rain outside. And I'm just like, she like willingly did this. Like the producers told her, okay, there's going to be rain outside and we're going to film you in this dark room and just like look glaringly outside at the storm and the rain dropping down. Like you're in a Hillary Duff music video. And she does it. And then they're like, okay, now sit in the corner and put the hood on and we're going to darken the room and you're just going to look like you're just like scrolling on your phone. And she does it. And I'm just like, what? That says also what's sad the other students in the school that got blamed for it and what they all went through. I know. The cousin who was like, I'm just a quiet girl. And then Chloe, although I do believe that Chloe was throwing carrots at the other kids, but still, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? That's my J-Lo impression. Okay. What a time. Let's take a quick ad break and then let's get into spicier stuff. Taylor Swift, Eileen Davidson, and Hannah Einbinder. Sorry. But first up, sponsors. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. I did too, until I found out that Nutrafol isn't like the rest. If you're dealing with hair issues like thinning or shedding, but feel totally stuck on what to try next, I get it, which is why I'm telling you, Nutrafol is a great option. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified. Okay, that's the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and use the promo code NOFILTER. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol, Nutrafol.com, promo code NOFILTER. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code NOFILTER. Fall always feels like a reset, am I right? Between back to school, busier routines, shorter days, finding time to cook can be tough, right? That's why I love Factor. Their chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season can get. You can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost, and they can help you stay on track with your goals. So whether that's a GLP-1 friendly meal or a Mediterranean diet option, they have both. Or like for me, I'm trying to pack in my protein and hit those macros, and now I can rely on Factor. It's so hard going from, podcast taping to event and walking the dogs, and I'm constantly on the go. So sometimes the last thing I want to do is come home and cook. So I like that I can just go into my fridge, get out a Factor meal, pop it in the microwave, and boom, it's ready in just a couple minutes, and it's delicious, and I can still track my macros, stay on track, get those fitness goals in. So if you want to try Factor, you can eat smart at factormeals.com/nofilter50off and use the code nofilter50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's a whole year of free breakfast. That's code nofilter50off, nofilter50off at factormeals.com/nofilter50off for 50% off your first box plus 1 year of free breakfast. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. All right, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. Hey, it's me, Tay-Tay. Will she or will she not be deposed? That is still the question. To be or not to be deposed. So the judge over the weekend did deny the Wayfair party's motion for an extension. They wanted to extend discovery and depose Taylor Swift next month in October. And so they were asking the judge, hey, is it possible? Can we get an extension because Taylor Swift isn't available until October? And Taylor Swift's team said, actually, we just heard about this 3 days ago. We told them that the soonest Taylor Swift can be available is the week of October 20th, which is obviously past the date of when discovery and depositions are due. So they were just like, listen, if she has to show up, she'll show up. But as of right now, like she's not like really looking to be showing up. That said, the judge denied their motion to get an extension. So there will not be an extension on discovery, and Taylor Swift will not be deposed in October. Now, there is a slight sliver of a chance that Taylor Swift could be deposed in September because that's when everything, I believe the due date for everything is September 30th. So we have until the end of September to get Taylor Swift to sit for a deposition, but it's literally 15 days, and it's highly unlikely because Blake Lively will fight tooth and nail. I mean, the judge did make a good point of like, you guys, she said she only heard about this 3 days ago. You've had months to schedule this and make this happen. So doesn't look like, I mean, can they still call her as a witness? I believe they can still call her as a witness at trial should she become relevant to this, but I don't know. We'll see. They made it clear that she's like, Taylor would like to be removed from this narrative. She has nothing to do with any of this. It ends with us drama. Leave me alone. So I don't know what we'll see with Taylor Swift in any of this. It ends with us drama, but the judge did not grant their extension, unfortunately. But it appears Justin Baldoni has brought on new counsel. I don't know if it kind of seems like a good thing. Oh, sorry guys. I'm back. I was like, wait, what happened? I think I accidentally hit something. I am back, right? Everything looks good. Okay. Justin Baldoni he hired new attorneys. He hired at least two new attorneys have been added to the docket. One of them is Alexandra Shapiro and Jonathan Bach. They're from Shapiro, Arado, and Bach. Shapiro, she seems to be like a pretty tough appellate lawyer. So we'll see what she brings to the table. I assume if, her specialty is in appeals, then it's very likely that they may be gearing up for a appeal to the hell. I don't know. I mean, everyone's like, this is getting exhausting. I agree. It's getting exhausting. I'm getting tired. Like, it's just kind of fatiguing. I mean, we're writing it through all the way to the end. Shapiro, another CIA guy. No, this is a lady, Alexandra Shapiro. She's an attorney. And from what I've read about her, she seems pretty boss. So we'll see. But I don't know. They have to get ready for something, right? They have to really bring on the best of the best because Blake Lively is really doing her due diligence. And now that she's out here trying to fight for treble damages, which again, for those that aren't familiar with treble damages, it's a 3-time penalty. So whatever the damages are, you have to pay that times 3. And it's meant to be punitive, like really punitive, to prevent you from bringing forth cases like this. Because if you lose, you can lose massively. So let's just say it's like 100 million times 3. That's 300 million. It's crazy. We'll see. We shall see. I'll keep you posted as, new updates come in. I don't know how many new updates we're really going to be getting now that Discovery is kind of done. It might get a little slow until trial. And then obviously at trial, it's going to be all guns a-blazing, right? Lisa said, I'm writing it out, but I'm tired. I'm tired too. If she wins with zero evidence, I will be mad. I know. Brigitte says, I just can't wait for summary judgments. Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, let's talk about okay. Conversation's gonna go maybe a little spicy. But let's talk about Eileen Davidson. You may remember her from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or I think she's also on, what was it, Days of Our Lives, and she's a soap actress. Briefly was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for a few seasons, and she is currently a lightning rod on the internet because of some posts that she made about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is a more moderate conservative, I guess activist is what you could call him. He created a company called Turning Point. He would often go onto college campuses to debate college students and be like, hey, tell me your ideas. I'll tell you my ideas. Ask me anything. He was like an IRL influencer. Ask me anything, guys. Ask me anything. So he, a lot of people didn't like him or disagreed with a lot of his opinions. Last week, he was assassinated, and a lot of people had a lot of things to say about it. And I spoke out against it because I thought that it was a terrible thing that happened to him. I wasn't super familiar with Charlie Kirk prior. Like, I mean, I guess I would see his videos from time to time. And a lot of times I would agree with him. And I think he would make some really intelligent points. I liked that he was unafraid to go on podcasts with people he disagreed with. I liked that he was bold enough to debate people in real time, right in front of them, on them. There's a Jubilee. There's a YouTube channel called Jubilee. They do a lot of those where they're just like, okay, Charlie Kirk versus 20 liberals. And he'll sit there and just boom, one after another, and they'll debate these different types of issues. So he wasn't afraid of an open forum debate. And he often did that on college campuses, as long as he, for the most part, remained respectful. I mean, there were even other podcasts that he would go on that were like super woke liberal. They would invite him on. And he, for the most part, always kept and held very respectful conversations, which is one thing that I really admired about him. He was always trying to empower people, whether, he didn't want anybody to fall into victimhood. Despite the color of your skin, despite your economic background, despite your gender, despite your sexuality or your lifestyle preferences, he didn't care. He was always about empowering you, and he welcomed everybody into his side of the political spectrum. He obviously leaned a little more conservative, but even conservatives would say he was a lot more moderate. And listen, he was, welcomed the gays, took photos with trans people, was friends with a number of different, I mean, obviously people on the right, but like really good friends with Candace Owens. And him and Candace didn't agree with him, didn't agree about everything. He was somebody that was very, very pro-Israel, even though obviously the Israel versus Palestine, which we'll get into in a second, obviously that's a very nuanced and layered topic, but like Candace Owens has been highly critical of Israel, and she's a Black woman, So the fact that he was so close to someone, I mean, and that's, I understand the argument of like, well, just because you have one Black friend doesn't mean you're not racist. Like, I get that. But I mean, I just think people were taking a lot of his comments completely out of context. And I'm really glad that there are a lot of my brothers in the gay community that came out and shared videos of Charlie Kirk embracing gay men and fight. There was even this one video that was going viral over the weekend where Charlie was literally debating with a, Christian extremist about how we need to abolish the gays. And Charlie, because Stephen King put out a piece of misinformation last week about how Charlie King was all in favor of stoning gays, which was absolutely false. Stephen King has since retracted that statement and apologized for it. And there was the viral clip of him literally debating with someone else about why, gay men shouldn't be shunned from the conservative movement. And if anything, they should be welcomed and embraced. And it was a very interesting discussion. There was another conversation where one woman comes up to him and she's like, so you don't hate the LGBT community? And he's like, no, I don't hate the LGBT community. And she's like, I just want to make it loud and clear that this gets caught on my camera that you are not condemning us. And he's like, no, I am not condemning you. He considered himself to be somebody that was very Christ-like. Anyway, I'm not here to to defend him. But my point is, I've seen a lot of people spread a lot of information about him, and they weren't really familiar with him, and so they're taking things, sound bites and headlines out of context. One of them being Eileen Davidson. She posted this, and we're going to go through it because there were a number of different posts that she shared. So let's go through some of those. So this is Eileen Davidson, formerly of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is the first post that she made. She says, I am not in support of what happened to Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk was in support of what happened to Charlie Kirk. Now, as I said last week, with Katie Maloney saying we don't mourn monsters, another example of something we just didn't need to post. There was really not really a need to make this jab, because it does, even though you want to say you're not condoning murder, you kind of are at least justifying it in some way by being like, oh, well, he would have liked this, which is absolutely not true. It's completely false. Charlie Kirk was not in support of gun deaths. Let's be very clear about this, because I keep seeing this piece of misinformation going around where people are saying that he was in favor of gun deaths, which is not true. And the quotes that they're taking from him, it was from I believe it was another conference where he was on stage doing a debate, and he was asked about, gun violence. And the interesting thing is the sentiment of his point was against fascism, which is so funny that I see a lot of people calling him a fascist, but a lot of people flippantly throw that word around, very similarly to how we were flippantly saying transphobic and racist and homophobic and xenophobic and all these things, right? That terms that we just completely watered down and diluted, unfortunately, and now just throw them around, and they really don't hold a whole lot of weight. Unfortunately, a lot of people have really misused those words. So fascist is now kind of just one of them. But it's interesting that we use rhetoric like fascist and Nazis and Hitler and all of that stuff and don't realize the heightened, we literally made people feel like someone like Charlie Kirk was a threat to their existence, which is absolutely not the case. But to get back to the comment that Eileen Davidson was referencing in this particular post about gun violence, because she was essentially saying like, oh, I guess it's okay that he was executed this way because he would have been in support of what happened to him, which is not true. Taken out of context. Someone asked him about gun violence and about gun deaths, and he made an analogy. And I believe, I'm paraphrasing, but I believe he was talking about automobile deaths and how, there are a number of people that die behind the wheel or at the result of someone on the other side of an automobile accident. And unfortunately, those are losses, tragic losses that we face every year. And the number of car deaths or deaths as a result of car accidents or automobile incidents far outweighs the number of deaths that were accounted for from guns. And he was basically saying that you don't then ban the cars because they cause a certain number of deaths per year. And he was specifically saying that, if there is like a DUI, for example, if you get behind the wheel and you drive while under the influence and you harm someone, it's not the car's fault. It's your fault. You got behind the wheel after drinking. So it's about, the responsibility of the person in the driver's seat. Is also in referencing to tragic gun deaths. And listen, is it easy to kind of just, break it down to just cars versus guns? I think they're very different, but I understood the sentiment of his point because he was saying that he does believe in the Second Amendment and a right to bear arms and have a gun, because his point was that you need guns in case you get to a place where the government gets into this full totalitarianism, right? If you're fighting against tyranny, if you're fighting against fascism, your government is going to try to, use weapons against you, you should have a right to bear arms and fight back against your own fascist government. That was the point that he was making. He was in no way condoning gun violence, right? That's like saying, oh, well, people die of cars every year. Doesn't mean you're condoning people dying, from a car accident, right? Like there are unfortunate losses that happen every year is the point that he was trying to make. So with that context, no, he would not be in support of what happened to him because he was not in support of being silenced, right? This is more, the way he was taken out is more fascist than anything he ever said, because you're silencing someone because you disagree with their viewpoint. You disagree with something that they said. You didn't like that. You wanted to take away their free speech. And so the punishment for free speech was to lose your life. It was the cost of a life because you didn't like his words. So it's interesting because Eileen David posted this, got a lot of feedback from it, and then she deleted the post. She deleted this post, and then she posted this. Didn't address, why she deleted or anything, but she then made this post on her Instagram account saying, in wake of the killing, this is from, I guess, an organization called 5051. And she writes, in wake of the killing of Charlie Kirk, the apprehension of a suspect, and the Evergreen school shooting, 5051 continues to vehemently condemn political violence in all its forms. We denounce escalating rhetoric by the president and the far right that generates violence and stand with all victims of gun violence and their family. We remain committed to radical love and nonviolence in the face of bigotry and hate. Quite interesting that they only denounce escalating rhetoric by the president and the far right that generates violence. But they don't just say, we denounce escalating rhetoric, we denounce, anything that generates violence. They make it clear that they only denounce it when it comes from the president or it comes from the far right, which I thought was a very interesting distinction. And they're committed to radical love, which again, this last post doesn't really show an active example of radical love because you're justifying this man's murder, or at least, trying to find an excuse for it. Like, I don't really understand the point of this post, but she deleted it and then posted this one where she says that she, is committed to radical love and nonviolence in the face of bigotry and hate, when it kind of seems like, no, you're trying to, your perceived the hate that you perceive is what you're then responding with more hate to, right? Because it's just also interesting that they vehemently condemn political violence in all forms, but they only denounce the escalating rhetoric by the president and the far right. Okay, I will confidently say, loud and proud, I vehemently condemn political violence in all form, in any form, and I denounce escalating rhetoric by the president, by the far right, by the far left, by people in the middle. I denounce escalating rhetoric, period. I don't think any side should be contributing to this escalating rhetoric that can lead to political violence. Period. End of story. I don't know why it's such a hard thing to say all across the board. I condemn bad rhetoric across the board. I don't know why we have to specify that we only denounce it when it comes from the president, or we only denounce it when it comes from the far right. I denounce it, period. End of story. I don't care who it's from. And right now, I need to call up my brothers and sisters on the right now. Y'all are fucking up. This rhetoric, I saw like a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene this morning, and she was just like, I'm done. We need to divorce from the left. We've tried. They hate us. Listen, you may believe that they hate you, but you can't stop trying, right? And we can't have a political divorce. I don't think that we should shun people because, like Charlie Kirk said, the more we shun people, the more we isolate people, the more we ostracize people, the more we further divide us. And that leads to more political violence. That leads to more division. Okay. So, yeah, I absolutely will. As much as I was upset with the left who were celebrating Charlie Kirk, or those that just didn't even care, that could watch that video of him bleeding out and not even care. Not okay. I was just like, and a lot of people want to bring it back to Melissa Hortman. And they're just like, well, why weren't you this upset about her? And I'm like, can we stop using her as a political brownie point? Can we stop using her name? Like, may this woman rest in peace and stop being used for a clapback right now. Okay, the difference, and I condemn it all. I thought her murder was tragic, but the reason you're not hearing as much as the reason you didn't hear as much of an uproar then as you're hearing right now is because we watched this one, right? Many people, children in schools watched this one, right? Unfortunately, that video circulated far and wide, and people actually got to see the execution up close. We saw the blood shoot out of his throat. We saw this man's life go before our eyes. That's a lot more traumatizing. Not to say that it deserves any more or less sympathy for the families. My prayers, heart, and love and everything goes out to every single family that has to deal with the tragedy of a murder. The difference, though, is this one happened right before our eyes, and it changed people. It visibly shook people. And then to see the reaction, because nobody celebrated when Melissa was murdered. I don't remember people trying to justify her murder to the level that people are trying to justify her murder. People like Eileen Davidson weren't out there, nobody on the right was out there saying, yeah, she deserved it. Or, well, she was a bad person, so, oh, well, it's insane to me. It's insane. But to make things even more clear, Eileen wanted to assure us that even though she deleted that original post, she wants to make it clear, I stand by my post, sweetie. She was responding to someone, Amy in Alabama, and she said, just for the record, I never, ever in 1 million years would celebrate the assassination of anybody. Please don't twist things around. You didn't celebrate it, but you were trying to justify it. Let's be very clear, right? Because I don't know what the point of this was. Like, oh, well, he deserved it. He should have had it happen to him. He would have liked it. I can tell you that's not true. He didn't deserve it, and he wouldn't have liked it. He wouldn't have been in support of it. He would have absolutely condemned it if you actually knew who Charlie Kirk was. So even though she may not have celebrated it, she certainly was trying to justify it. And she even says, on September 14th, 2025 at 7:38 p.m. Pacific, Eileen Davidson tweeted, I stand by my post, sweetie. There you go. There you have it. There you have it. And again, I now see people that want to cancel Eileen and that think that she should lose her job. Let me also say this loud and clear for everybody to hear. Because, sorry, she actually went on to post. Wait, do I have this other one? Oh, yes, I do. Because then she continued her posts. One, she shared a video of a reverend who was calling Charlie Kirk a racist, which, again, I don't know about you, but that kind of seems to me like this escalating rhetoric, right? You're slamming him as a racist. That to me sounds like escalating rhetoric that led to the execution of this man. But again, remember her statement said that she only denounces escalating rhetoric if it's by the president or the far right. But if you're on the far left, it's totally fine. Escalate the rhetoric all you want. Keep the rhetoric. It's okay. She only denounces that if it's on the far right. And then she went on to post this. A MAGA shot another MAGA, and MAGAs are mad at Democrats. Make it make sense. It's very interesting. Coming from the party of, empathy and acceptance and inclusion, but, we bully the shit out of you if you don't agree with us, right? So let's be clear, right? There's no evidence to support that Tyler Robinson was MAGA, okay? Despite his parents being Trump supporters. So you could say he was raised in a household that maybe believed in MAGA values for sure. He's definitely raised conservative. He was raised Republican. His parents are registered Republicans. He is not a registered Republican. He was a registered independent, okay? Now, how many of you have had parents or grandparents that are Republicans that you disagree with, or vice versa, have Democrats that, your parents' viewpoints do not define your viewpoints, right? They can influence you for sure. And I think, listen, that's probably why he was so familiar with being able to shoot a gun so well, is he probably went on the range with his dad. And, that was something that they were familiar with. But you can absolutely have parents that have different political viewpoints than you. I've gotten into, disputes with grandparents, family members over politics because we don't see eye to eye. Just because your family identifies with one thing doesn't necessarily mean you identify with one thing. And there's no evidence to support that Tyler Robinson was in any way a Trump supporter. Because the bullet, let's get down to the things that we do know, right? He had the bullets that had engravings on them. They had multiple engravings. One of them was an arrow. One of them said catch. One of them said, hey, fascist. I don't know about you, but the word fascist typically gets spewed by the left. I've heard them use that term a lot. So that seems to be something that goes along with the liberal ideology versus somebody that would be MAGA. I don't see how many MAGA people are out there calling someone like Charlie Kirk a fascist, right? Just based off of, the numbers, right? Of how many, maybe there's a few, but not nearly as much. So it's more likely that this is a liberal ideology versus a conservative ideology to consider Charlie Kirk a fascist, especially considering Charlie Kirk was a big Trump supporter and a friend of Trump. So why would it make sense that he would shoot Charlie Kirk if he was doing this in the name of Trump because he's MAGA? That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. This is me just factoring in logic, right? Eileen Davidson, like I'm just trying to understand if the bullet said, "Hey, fascist" on it, and that was shot at Charlie Kirk, who's a supporter of Trump, then why would this man then be anti-Charlie Kirk? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me either, right? But again, this is the rhetoric that Eileen Davidson condemns, but only if it's on the far right. And then we've now learned that he was living with, and it's not entirely confirmed to me that he was dating this person, but he was at least living with a trans person or someone that was in the process of transitioning and becoming a woman. I don't believe the transition was full yet, but this individual was in the process of it. I also, read reports that this individual is cooperating with the FBI and trying to provide them with as much information as possible. Any information that may be helpful. We know that there were some Discord messages that were shared with other people that also seemed to be more left-leaning and certainly not MAGA at all. I know there was a photo of Tyler going around with a MAGA shirt on, which has since been debunked and proven to have been photoshopped. That is not a real image. That was a doctored fake photo. So it appears that even though Tyler was raised in a home of Republicans, that he may have changed his mind. He may have changed his viewpoint once leaving home and seemingly leaving home and attending college, right? And just to get back to logic here, per their own classification, meaning people that align more with the far left, per their own classification, it seems highly unlikely that someone that is MAGA would be dating or at least living with a trans person and referring to Charlie Kirk as a racist or as a fascist, right? Because again, you would think MAGA would like Charlie Kirk, and you would think that according to your own logic, MAGA they're transphobic, right? They're transphobic and racist and all these things. So why would they be living with a trans person and shooting Charlie Kirk, who they believe to be a fascist? Make that make sense to me, Eileen Davidson. So no, I don't understand her. Yes, I still believe in her right to speak out because I still am a free speech believer. And I believe that she has a right to share, some of the very disheartening and, in my opinion, despicable things that she has shared, along with the misinformation that she's putting out there about this man and the dangerous rhetoric that can lead to political violence, such as sharing videos of people condemning him as a racist. And taking his words out of context or justifying his murder. But now, to be fair, right, because I like to call it on both sides, I see people are now calling for Eileen's job to be taken away. And I see a number of people reporting people's videos or people that are posting videos that celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk. People are going out of their way to call their employers and get those people fired. And now people are losing jobs over their videos. Many of them are upset, which, the irony doesn't miss me that they're, the irony of thinking that a man deserves to lose his life over his beliefs, but you shouldn't lose your job. Like, let's really think about that one quite deeply. You shouldn't lose your job, but it's okay for him to lose his life. Like, make that make sense. But I want to be very clear, and I want you to hear this very clearly. I do not condone, very similar to when I condemned escalating rhetoric from the left and the right and in the middle and from the top and the bottom and the verse and all of it and the non-binary, whatever. You pick a hole and I'm down with it, right? I condemn all escalating rhetoric and I condemn all political violence on both sides, something that Eileen Davidson is clearly not capable of doing. But to be clear, I also don't condone people on the right that are calling for Eileen to lose her job, nor do I support people on the right that are asking for people to be fired from their jobs for the videos that they're posting. I don't support cancel culture, period, end of story. I didn't in 2020. I didn't during BLM. I did not during COVID. I didn't during any of those times. I don't now. I do not stand for cancel culture, right? I think, listen, as disgusting as some of those videos were, it's showing people exactly who these people are. And we now live in a world where we have the free speech to post nasty, vile, disgusting things. Um, and they have a right to post their videos where they want to mock a dead man or question the grieving process of his wife, Erica. While I don't like it and it's deeply uncomfortable, that free speech is what Charlie Kirk often fought for, is people's ability to say what they want, right? I do have to also add in a conversation that I saw on, what was it, on Twitter or X, I guess, that I thought was actually an interesting combo. And then we'll get into the Emmys in just a sec. But it was interesting because it's two people that, again, I consider, well, I'm friendly with, right? Lauren Knighty, I consider a friend, and Colonel Kurtz, I've been friendly with, and we've chatted online. She's been on my show. Lauren, I consider more of a friend because we text all the time, and I've hung out with Lauren in person, and we've gotten drunk together, and I consider Lauren a real friend. We've hung out socially. We've done events together. But I am friendly with both of these women, with Kristen and with Lauren. And Kristen, on the point of free speech, right? Kristen said, let's take a polarizing figure on the left, say Rosie O'Donnell or AOC or George Soros. If one of them was killed, a bunch of people would post or say something celebrating it. Would you want them all to be fired? And I was like, listen, it's hard because free speech, like there is a middle ground with it. And there are certain layers that maybe it is too far. And I don't agree that these people deserve to lose their jobs over this unless they do something that violates company policy. And if anything, the company can just say, hey, this violates company policy. You need to remove that. You need to take it down. I'm not calling for these people's livelihoods to be turned upside down, as much as I disagree with them and don't like some of the things and condemn some of the things that they're absolutely saying, right? I do think it's hypocritical that they are championing Charlie Kirk losing his life, but crying about losing their job. Hypocritical, ironic for sure. But so Lauren Knighty then responded to Colonel Kurtz and she said, I'm not registered to either party, which neither am I. I want to be very clear. I'm not a registered Democrat, never have been, not a registered Republican, never have been. I've always been a registered independent because I call it on both sides. Always been kind of in the middle. I know people want to pigeonhole me to be more conservative or MAGA, or they call me all these things that I've never personally identified with myself. But I know in the past year, people have pushed me, or I guess in the past 5 years since COVID, people have lumped me onto the other side. And it's so interesting that I feel like I leaned a lot more liberal. I leaned a lot more in the Democratic Party. And I don't even think I left the Democratic Party. A lot of people are like, I didn't push I didn't push the left away. They pushed me away. Or I didn't leave the left left me. I would not identify with either of those slogans. I would say I didn't leave the left. They pushed me the fuck out. They just are like, nope, you're not welcome here. Nope, you don't like this. You're not welcome here. Nope, you stepped 1 inch over the line. Get the fuck out. Fuck you, you fascist, you racist, you all this shit. And I'm just like, whoa, when did I become a fascist and a racist and a Nazi and all of these things? I was like, what? Wait, huh? I asked a question. I said, what? I'm anti-science now because the science ended up being in, my side in the end. But anyway, Lauren says, I'm not registered to either party and follow people on both sides of the aisle. Personally, I think, yes, in some extreme cases, she does believe that losing her job is warranted based off of some of the things that you post online. She says, for example, if a nurse or a doctor is saying someone deserved death for their political views and they are celebrating it, I would not want them caring for my family member. Not just my family member, even myself. I would not want them caring for my family member who may have different views than them. It's one thing to disagree and to not mourn or whatever, which I personally think is callous, but okay. She continues and she says, it's another thing to be in the business of saving lives while openly voicing that you think some deserve death. Just my 2 cents. And I was like, wow, I didn't look at it from that perspective. And I'm glad that these two had this exchange because now it does make me really look at and think about that, right? I was like, wow, I never really thought of that. I don't think that people should lose their jobs for their free speech. But when you put it in this context, it is kind of alarming. And I know friends, a lot of, friends that are doctors, plastic surgeons, chiropractors who are afraid to share their views politically because they don't want to ostracize people. And I think that's an incredible thing. You don't want to put your ideas onto somebody else, so you're not going to reflect them because everybody is welcome. I know a friend who's a doctor and she had somebody else that was smearing her because she happened to take patients that were MAGA. She also practiced in a more conservative area, But because she was taking patients that happened to be Republican, but she also took patients that were Democrats, but because her patients some of them happened to be Republican, there was somebody that was going around saying, "Don't go to her. Don't go to her because she takes MAGA," which is just so interesting that this is what we've come to, that we think that because somebody has a different political viewpoint, they don't deserve medical care. That's crazy to me. So I mean, yes, in this context, and I've had like coaches or gym friends that are coaches that have shared, like, yeah, I don't post my political stuff online because at the end of the day, I'm a coach, and whoever comes in here, they're here to work out and they're here to, prioritize their mental health or their physical health. And my job is not to impose my thoughts and ideas onto them. My thoughts are to, care for to coach them in this session. So yeah. It's interesting. So I think, listen, the conversation of free speech is not a cut and dry, clear one. I think there are some layers to it, and I didn't really consider that. And I'm glad that Lauren felt comfortable and confident enough to share that viewpoint with Colonel Kurtz, because then it made me think about that kind of differently. Because I was kind of with Colonel Kurtz of like, well, I mean, I don't love some of the things that people say, but they are technically entitled to say them. The same way Charlie Kirk was entitled to say what he said and not be killed for that. You know? Yeah. Erica C says, and the teachers, if a kid goes to their teacher because they are upset about this, we should be confident that the teachers will comfort them. Absolutely. And I don't like that I see like therapists going on Instagram and they're just like, I'm here to validate that if you don't feel bad, you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to feel what no people don't tell you what to feel. Like, what? No, like it's human to feel. And when we block our emotions or blind ourselves from natural human emotions, I think that's a dangerous world. And to have therapists that are validating that, I think is also dangerous. Um, yeah. Michelle says, I get the argument of not spending your money at the business who have contrary viewpoints, particularly businesses who are donated in causes you don't support, but why not take their money? But why not take their money as a customer? Odd. I don't understand the point. Fermented Opinion says, even if not MAGA, if you're wearing a flag, you're deemed far right, which is very untrue. That's crazy to me. I know. Like, you're immediately like far right, wackadoodle, Jesus loving, Trump thumping, you know, maggot if you wear the American flag. I'm like, what? When did it become a crime to take pride in the country that we live in? And I'm sorry, if you don't like this country, like the borders, like you can leave. The border's not that closed. If you want to go hang with Ellen. It's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, Joy says, Zack, I bought Billy Bush the shorts. We were talking about swingers and pineapples, and it became a joke during the Karen Reed trial, just trying to clear it up. You can watch the day before I was on Billy's show. Oh my God, that's hilarious, Joy. I loved those tiny little pineapple shorts. I think he looked so yummy. So Billy Bush, you can buy him all the little pineapple shorts and he can dance in them all day long. All day long. All day long. Tiffany says, not where I live. Everyone has a flag and wears them. It's a small town USA, though. Yeah. Brigitte says, for me, this is not a right wing, left wing thing. It's a matter of free speech, and free speech does not mean calling for and justifying murder. Exactly. Yeah, listen, I agree with you. I'm not a bot says, I canceled my YouTube Zack membership and I'm ready for the new membership. I'm not green anymore. I'm a member. Really. I trust you. Yes, the memberships will be launching this Thursday. So get ready for it. Get ready for it. I already have 4 episodes ready for you to, and there's some tea. Mimir says the political divide in the US has become insane. I don't think of the art of war and the rule of divide and conquer and worry for my southern neighbors. Joy says she just wanted to clear up the confusion. Thank you, Joy. I appreciate you clearing up the confusion. Absolutely. Miss Squishy says, we just bought a house with an American flag and the neighbor next door had his at half staff. Yeah, I mean, and listen, if people want to bring their flags at half staff in honor of Charlie Kirk, that's their right to do that, and I think they're allowed to. I don't like when people go to other people's houses and they tear down flags or they tear things down. It's just, you know, I don't know. Amy Shepard says free speech is at the crutch of the government, does not arrest and kill you. Yes. Wait, so we have to cancel our YouTube membership and sign up somewhere else? Yes. Well, I mean, technically, I'll still keep YouTube memberships around and we'll probably do like some live streams on YouTube still. But in terms of the new membership model that we're launching, that'll be on Thursday and it'll be on a new platform. And instead of doing live streams where there's a live chat, I'm thinking of switching them to Zooms so that we can all, you don't have to put yourself on camera, but I just figured it would be fun to do like a monthly happy hour where we all hop on a Zoom together and we all do our thing and hang and have fun. What platform? It's called Supercast. I'll be sure to give you guys all the details with the announcement on Thursday. Okay, that's it. Let's talk. Let's talk about Hannah Einbinder. She is from the show Hacks, which I actually really like. I really enjoy the show Hacks. I think it is really funny. I think there are 4 seasons in now. Yeah, the new membership is going to be called No Filter All Access. All Access, baby. Yes, a monthly Zoom. That's so fun. That's how we met. Yes, that's right. So Hannah, who is on the show Hacks with Jean Smart, she won Best Supporting Actress at the Emmys. And in her speech, wanted to deliver the lines, "Go Birds, fuck ICE, and free Palestine." And then she, walked off stage. And listen, as part of this conversation of free speech, she's fully entitled to speak her mind. That's what free speech is. I stand for people, saying whatever they want to say, but words in a pretty dress just kind of fall flat. Big words in pretty dresses just don't really land for me when you're at the Hollywood circle jerk where everyone's just kind of parading themselves. And listen, I used to like award shows, but I just feel like this is what award shows have kind of just become. Like, to me, they've become a bit insufferable in the sense that it's just like a bunch of pretty people in expensive clothes and expensive jewelry, and they're all just clapping for each other. And listen, they have a right to celebrate, but it's like the broadcasting of it and and then the woke political agendas. Like I'm in support of you doing that should you feel so compelled, but it is just kind of like, but what are you doing? Like, what are you accomplishing? Like, oh, I'm so glad that Hannah got to save all of the people in Palestine because when she collected her Emmy award, where she makes more money per episode than most of these people living in Palestine right now, but I'm glad that she did the hashtag thing on stage. So cool. Like, what did this accomplish? Like, to me, I'm just like, it's all Hollywood virtue signaling. Like, it's all just Hollywood virtue signaling. It's insufferable. It's ridiculous. It's, Ricky Gervais was the highlight of award shows. He really was, because he wasn't afraid to call people out and to make uncomfortable jokes that were essentially, because I mean, when you think about it, it is a Hollywood circle jerk. So you kind of need to laugh at yourself in the same note. And I think he did a really good job of being like, listen, you guys are ridiculous. Like, come on. And of course, a lot of the Hollywood egos would get hurt and people didn't really like it, but the audience loved it. I think Gervais was great. I don't know if he would be accepted in today's climate, but I don't know. But I'm just like, thank you, Hannah Einbinder, for your speech. I'm glad you won your award. I'm glad that your Hollywood friends clapped for you. I'm glad that they all like you very much. I'm glad that you feel validated. And I'm glad that you saved all the people in Palestine. Good for you. Great. I'm like, what did this like? And the only reason I bring it up is because that's like one of the biggest highlights that I've seen from the night of people sharing and resharing the clip and making headlines out of it. And they're like, she said this. She said, "Go Birds and fuck ICE and free Palestine." She said it on stage. Oh my God. And they're like clapping for her. And I'm like, and what did it do? And what did it accomplish? And okay, she got brownie points. She felt good about herself. Got it. And she said that she said this because she needed people to know that as a Jew, she doesn't support what Israel is doing. Totally her prerogative, right? Totally fair. She can feel that way. Good for her. Whatever. But what again, how did you fix the issues? How like what did you do to solve the problem? You know? I don't really understand. She doesn't even go here yet. I didn't even know the Emmys happened. Neither did I. I was too busy having dinner with my family, which was honestly way more important to me. Mackenzie says, do celebrities still think we care what they think? I mean, listen, if Taylor Swift could not get everybody to vote for Kamala Harris, that just shows that the power and influence that celebrities think they have isn't really there, you know? Mimir says, why do actors all think that they're political analysts? All of a sudden, they become expert in foreign affairs. Well, because they have empathy. Don't forget, they have empathy. Oh, I have empathy. Actually, this is something I disagree with Charlie Kirk on here. We can take her off my screen because I like her on the show. I'll still watch Hacks. I'm not going to cancel Hannah. I'm just like, it was just dumb. And the fact that that's what the media is like celebrating. And I'm just like, okay, so she feels good about herself and she went to bed thinking she saved the world. And she woke up this morning in her fancy house. And what did she really do? How much of the world did she really save? You know, I don't get it. Okay. Thank you for that. But on the note, because they have so much empathy, right? And I have seen this other Charlie Kirk quote go around about empathy. And a lot of people are like, he doesn't deserve my empathy because he says he didn't believe in empathy. And then it's like, well, there was a lot more to that statement. He said he didn't believe in empathy because he believed that empathy was a new age term and you'll never fully be able to understand what another person is feeling. Right? Because that's the premise of empathy is like, I relate to you. I get how you're feeling. Like I, have empathy for you. I'm relating and trying to understand how you feel. But Charlie Kirk went on to then say that he believes more in sympathy, right? Because you'll never really be able to understand how somebody else is feeling, but you can still feel for them, if that makes sense. And I actually do disagree with him on this point about empathy versus sympathy, because I think, of course, you're never going to fully identify with another person's feelings because you're not that person and you don't view the world through their lens. But I do think that there can be a pursuit of empathy. I believe in empathy. I know he thinks it's more of a new age thing, and maybe it is, but I believe that it is possible to try to empathize with people, to try to understand where they're coming from. So that is one point I disagree with Charlie Kirk on. But just with a lot of people saying, well, he didn't believe in empathy. He believed that, he believed in gun deaths. No, he didn't. It's not what he said at all. Completely taken out of context. He said that unfortunately that gun deaths do happen, but in no way was he condoning them. In no way was he rooting for them or championing them or would have rooted for his own, death at the sword of free speech. Same thing with empathy. I don't think, everyone's like, well, he didn't believe in empathy. Well, yeah, but he believed in sympathy. And you have to understand why he didn't believe in empathy. So yeah. Mimir says, when I was a kid, empathy was defined as sympathy plus understanding. Now it seems like it means something else. That's how I understand it. Sympathy with, I don't know, maybe understanding or relating. But again, I mean, I wish I didn't have so much empathy. I wish I didn't have so much empathy either. I think I give a little too much empathy, but actually, no, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a conservative Christian thing. It's like, I care, but not enough to really care. Well, that's not nice because Christians identify as trying to be Christ-like. I understand that there are some Christians that have given the Christian religion a bad rep, but I don't think that they don't care about other people. Their whole mission of a real Christian is to be Christ-like. So you love everyone. You love all thy neighbor. I know some conservative Christians have taken that a bit too far and they've gone a bit extremist and they aren't very loving and aren't very empathetic or sympathetic, but I don't think that that's a fair statement to make. Sorry, Enrique. Ariana says, back in the day, actors who were political used to actually do things, not just stand on a stage with a prize. Yeah, that kind of that's, I guess, my point in bringing up the Hannah stuff is like, if you like, listen, you have to give it to Angelina Jolie. She was going around the world doing everything that she could and traveling to different countries and, saving all the children around the world. You have to give her credit for that. But now it's just a lot of virtue signaling. It's like, let me hashtag, let me put, this movement let me put this flag in my bio. Let me sit here and hold my award where all of my friends are telling me how great I am. And let me further show you how great I am by saying, fuck ICE and free Palestine. I'm so great, All right. Go to another No King's March. Take down the next king. Go beat fascism again out in the streets. Not all conservatives are Christian. Very true. MC High Life says, I'm so glad I did not grow up with social media. I mean, in my day, MySpace was as fun as it got. I know. We had MySpace and then eventually Facebook, but I don't know if I could have really done social media. Like, it's just so, like, I just don't understand what growing up with social media would have been like. Tessa says, as a Christian, we are called to love like Jesus did. Disagree? Sure. Care for, want the best? Yes, sure. Great. Yeah, but they're extremists in every religion. Absolutely. I agree with that. All right. I think that's all I got for you. We've already gone well over an hour, but I love you. I appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so yet, you can still clock in. Today's the last day for your No Filter merch if you want to support this month's charitable cause. 100% of the proceeds, 100%, guys, 100% of my proceeds. Somebody was complaining, they're like, $30 for a shirt? That shirt would cost $15 in a store. And I'm just like, well, what store are you shopping at? Number one. And number two, it's for charity. I'm not keeping any of these proceeds. So you can buy any of the shirts or hoodies or tank tops in the merch store. You can go to nofiltermerch.com. We have Justice for Justin, Zack Pack, Zack Peter's my lawyer. Do I look like I fell out of a coconut tree? Never with teeth, and love me some Zack Peter. Most of these will not be getting restocked. So this may be your last chance to clock it in. 100% of the proceeds will be donated to the Union Rescue Mission and to the JED Foundation. The JED Foundation is to support mental health, especially since this month is Suicide Prevention Month. Then we have the Union Rescue Mission, which is to help fight homelessness here in Los Angeles. Both of these charities were picked in honor of my friend Jeff, who passed away a couple weeks ago, who I miss very much. So you can purchase anything in the merch store today. Today's the last day, September 15th. So you can go make a purchase and know that your purchase will be donated to charity. The proceeds from each of the sales. Today's the last day. I want tanks, Zack. I have it. I have a Zack-activated tank in the merch store, Amanda. All right, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on your way out. Leave an Apple Podcast review if you feel so compelled. I will give shout outs this week for sure. All right, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Talk to you tomorrow. Ciao for now. Bye. Bye.